Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Scorpio Cesar. You might have known me in the past as Solid as Godzilla. That's besides the point. You see, back in 2017, my game shelf wall was completely obliterated in the fire. So much water damage, I could only save so much. I saved most of my games in disc form, but unfortunately not the cases or manuals or all that good stuff. So, as you can see behind me, since last year, I've been rebuilding that game wall. So the main goal behind this recent game pickup series is that I'm going to be buying up games that I used to own in the past and traded away like a dumbass, or some games that I lost in the fire in 2017, or even games that I've never owned before but always wanted to. So full disclaimer before I start today's episode. Remember, I've been picking up a lot of these games since around spring of last year, 2020, all the way up until now. So what you're going to see is a mixture of games that I bought within the past year. The dates of when I purchased said game will show up here, as well as the total price that I paid. The total price includes the shipping, handling, and taxes. So with that out of the way, let's get into today's episode. Alright, so we even got some new arrivals today, so this is great for the first episode. We're going to take a look at some of these and let's see what we got here. We got some from Canada, and we got a box from Smokey's Games. What the hell? Well, I didn't buy anything worth a box this big, but this is kind of ridiculous. I can only imagine what game that is. So before we get into that, I want to take a look at some other games that I picked up in the past. So has anybody ever heard of this game, Headhunter on the PlayStation 2? Now, I originally heard that this game was supposed to be a Dreamcast title, and it was ported to the PS2 at some point. I'm not exactly sure if the Dreamcast actually got this game. It's probably worth looking into. I should probably also get a Dreamcast in the near future. But that's besides the point. You know, sometimes my father would just go to GameStop. There was GameStop, or was it a Software Etc. at the time, and he would just pick a random game that he would see for cheap and just be like, oh, look, we just got a new PS2, so let's check out a game. Now, I think the thing that caught my dad's eye on the back of the box was Jack Wade, the main character, on a motorcycle. And my awesome dad was just getting into getting his motorcycle license, and he had a bike very similar to the one Jack Wade is riding here on the box. So I started playing it, he started playing it. I think he liked it, but I think he just liked the, free roam motorcycle sections in the main town hub area. And looking at it here, it's kind of primitive in a way, but it has its charm. The game's controls definitely feel dated by today's standards. Of course, it's an older, earlier 6th generation game, so that's to be expected. You can definitely tell that this game was probably meant for a Dreamcast controller, because it kind of feels like the second analog stick is barely used, if not used at all. So there's that. It's very unfortunate, but the game is still playable, and I actually have a soft spot in my heart for this game, and I was really happy to finally reclaim it. Headhunter on the PlayStation 2. And I paid $20.14 to get this one complete in its box. Still even have the GameStop sticker on there, and it was $17.99 at GameStop. And this label is, I could read this label now and tell you, this was made March 23rd, 2003. Former GameStop employee experience for you right there. Here we have another one of my personal favorites from my childhood. Too Extreme on the PlayStation 1. Now, any of you who owned the original PlayStation growing up, you had to have a demo disc with it, alright? Come on. You know what I'm talking about, alright? You know you burned the hell out of this disc growing up, guys and girls. I know for a fact because I did the same exact thing. One of those demos on this game was Too Extreme. And I love this demo disc, by the way. I would love to make a video on this demo disc alone, because it introduced me to so many franchises on the PlayStation at the time. Twisted Metal, Tekken, Crash Bandicoot, Ridge Racer, the list goes on and on. But we'll get to that eventually. Too Extreme was one of those demos on there, and my sister and I played the hell out of this demo. And when we finally got the game, my father rented the wrong one. He rented 1 Extreme, and I know this because there was a certain level, I believe it was the bike level in 1 Extreme, where you can actually run over chickens. And unfortunately that wasn't in this game. And we used to laugh because the way the chickens would just pop and just be like, the sound they made, it was hilarious. But 2 Extreme is definitely a classic that, of course, hasn't aged well, considering the gameplay is so dated by today's standards. But come on, man, you could snowboard, you could bike, you could do that little boogie board thing that you lay on your back with, you could skateboard uphill, downhill on these roads. The graphics are so primitive by today's standards, but that's part of the charm. And this game, oh man, it holds a special place in me heart. I paid $6.84 for 2 Extreme. Next up, we have this game. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it before, but this was kind of like an early PlayStation 2 game, and it is called Ghost Hunter. I remember watching, I think it was one of those underrated PS2 horror game videos on YouTube somewhere. I forgot who made it, but this was included on their list, and I had to get it because I'm a huge horror game fan, and I had to have it. Having played a little bit of it though, I gotta say I'm really liking it. It's kind of like a third-person shooter in a way, but it's kind of got a weird, like, Ghostbusters kind of trick to it. You throw the device at the ghost or creature, and you start shooting it with your regular guns, and then you eventually capture it. It's very interesting. You see the gameplay here. It speaks for itself. Now, whether this game is a horror game, that's debatable. Honestly, from what I've played, it doesn't play like one. Like, it's very action-based, and it doesn't really feel that creepy, honestly. And to its benefit, the voice acting is pretty good for the game, but you can tell the whole script, the whole premise behind the game, it doesn't take itself too seriously. And like I said, I think that's to its benefit. So yeah, Ghost Hunter on the PS2. Paid $56.40 for this. This is one of those early PS2 classic horror games that's a little harder to come by these days for a good price. So I see it range for around around the $45 price range. So if you get the chance to find one, pick it up. You're not going to regret it. It's actually pretty damn fun so far. Next up, an Xbox original classic. I paid $46.11 for this one, and I had to get it. It's been a game that's been on my to-get list for the longest time. I just never got around to it. It recently got an HD remaster, I believe, that came out for modern consoles. But me, I love my 6th generation games, and I had to own a physical copy of it somehow. So I picked up Psychonauts on the original Xbox. And this one I picked up because a fellow YouTuber by the name of Petronius actually made a very good review for it. A great review, actually. If you haven't checked out his channel, I'm going to put a link to that review in my description down below. And he sold me on this game. Like, I was interested in it before, especially with the recent announcement. And did you see that trailer from E3 for Psychonauts 2? That game looks bonkers, man. I cannot wait for it. So I had to pick up the first one. And so far, the game, the art style, the way the characters are, it's very ugly in like a Tim Burton-esque kind of way. It's a good looking game, like graphic-wise, the art style it's definitely unique. You know, it doesn't have bad graphics at all. The game actually looks really good, and it upscales greatly thanks to the Xbox One's backwards compatibility. So there's that. Psychonauts. Get it. Alright, so it's time to get into some of these that came in today in the mail. And let's see who we have today. Remember, kids, always cut away from you. This is an Xbox 360 title. And it is, this is Silent Hill Downpour. I know what you're thinking. It's one of those American Silent Hill games. But you might want to double check some of those reviews from YouTubers out there, because I was on a Silent Hill kick a couple of months ago, and I just recently got it back into it. I started watching Nitro Rad's review for the game, and this is actually one of the better recent Silent Hill games released. Now, it's not going to be as good as, you know, the original trilogy or Part 4, but I heard a lot of good things about this one, and hey, I had to own it because the prices on this guy are going up, unfortunately. All the Silent Hill games are starting to become really hard to come by. And I paid $46 $36 for this one. So if you haven't picked it up yet and you're somewhat interested in it, definitely hunt it down now before the prices on it get even more ridiculous, because horror games, especially the Silent Hill series, those prices are just going to go up. Speaking of downpour, it is literally downpouring outside right now. I kid you not. Another bubble wrapped package. I like these bubble wrap packages. They usually protect the games pretty well. So if you're planning on selling any games on eBay, so I spent only $6.35 for this one. This is a 7th generation third-person shooter called Fracture that a lot of people slept on. It got mediocre reviews to decent reviews, and the main selling point behind this game is that you can actually morph the terrain around you with a certain weapon. It's actually pretty cool. I talked my brother-in-law into this game once, and I never actually got it myself. So now that I actually have it, it's pretty sweet to own it. Paid a really... well, this is in good shape too, complete with the manual and everything. Greatness, this is awesome. Yeah, I miss the days where developers were willing to take a chance on a game and a concept, and unfortunately that's something that's lost these days. And with this one, like I said before, very experimental, but it's pretty decent, honestly. It's not that bad, and you'll see from the gameplay here, you can actually use the weapon to morph the terrain around you. Pretty cool concept, if I do say so myself. So yeah, Fracture for the Xbox 360. This is one of those cases where an eBay seller just didn't have a bubble wrap package or anything ready to ship it. This is ridiculous. Like, come on, man. You mean to tell me you're gonna ship a game in a box like this with no bubble wrap whatsoever, so it gets banged around all over the place like that? Come on, man. Paid only $10.07 for this one, and thankfully this case is in decent shape. There is some nasty residue from the GameStop stickers. This is one of those cases where the spine has a sticker on it, but at some point when I used to work at GameStop, we stopped actually putting the label on the cover art. I don't know why the hell GameStop did that in the first place, but once I started working there, I was telling the DMs, I was like, don't do this, man. People get turned away from this shit, especially like collectors like me. We don't like having to remove labels from actual paper because you can rip the manual, you can rip the cover art. It's ridiculous. So I told them, please stop that. And I remember we started actually using the sticker label. So you'll see here, for example. Check this out. No harm, no foul, GameStop. Anyways, so yeah, the game seems to be alright in the case. Disc is in pretty good shape. This is one of those cases of a game where I wasn't able to save from the fire back in 2017, unfortunately, but I found it for cheap on eBay, and it's a game that I've always wanted to play through. It was developed by Spark. This wasn't a well-received game, but hey, legendary. It's got griffins in it, and if you got griffins in your game, I'm gonna play it. All right, it's a first-person shooter, and yeah, let's take a look and see when this label was created. It was created on December 28th of 2008. Very interesting. And the label was for $26.99. Way too much for a game of this caliber, if you ask me. But anyways, that's it. Only $10.07. So today's total for all of these games was $193.46. Now, when you're buying games, remember, it may seem cheap, but also check the shipping, because sometimes they'll sell a game for 99 cents, as was the case with Fracture, and charge like $6 for shipping, which is pretty standard if you ask me. But anyways, remember, if you're gaming on a budget, get what you can. Check eBay, always look for a game, search for lowest price plus shipping first, and go from there. Those are my best advices that I could give for you guys, alright? So thanks for joining me on today's recent game pickups, rebuilding the game wall with Scorpio Cesar. If you liked today's video or videos like this, let me know in the comment section below which of these games you have fond memories of, or if you've played any of them and you didn't like them. If you liked it, did not like it, let me know in the comment section below, alright? hit the like button, maybe share the video with some of your friends, and don't forget to subscribe. All those things mean a lot to me, and I really am glad to have you all aboard for the ride. I'll see you all soon. Remember, Scorpio SR signing off.